Welcome back, everybody. Folks, my next guest was the U.S. Secretary of State and Ambassador to the United Nations. Please welcome Madeleine Albright. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's always an honor to talk to you. It's always fun to talk to you, even though it's sometimes on some pretty serious issues. How have you been?
I've been great, and thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Yeah. So,
the kids, they love Madeleine Albright.
Yeah. I just was on the train coming up from Washington.
Okay.
And the conductor asked me if I wanted a wheelchair, and I said, no, I'm going on Colbert to kick ass.
Not mine, I hope. Not mine, I hope. I don't think I could take in a fight.
No.
Well, you were Secretary of State, Ambassador to the United Nations, as I was just saying. There's so many things going on in the world right now, so many foreign policy challenges for the United States right now. We saw over the weekend horrific images out of Syria, where it appears that the government of Assad, possibly with the help of the Russians, used chemical weapons on their own people. What should the United States' response be? Donald Trump says this is Barack Obama's fault because the first time this happened, Barack Obama did not use military action against Assad's regime. Do you think he's right about that?
No, I don't. I mean, I do wish Barack Obama did put down a red line, and I personally wish that we had followed through on that. However, what had happened was that Barack Obama was looking for support from Congress because he didn't want to do something outside the law, and then Congress would not support that. But I do think the thing that is the issue, President Trump actually had the same event a year ago when they took this kind of action. The truth is that it was just a one-off because there's no Syrian strategy. I mean, that's
just
what's
a one-off
really
in Syria using the weapons?
No, in us responding to it.
Because there was a targeted missile strike on a Syrian base.
Syrian base, and also it had come as a result of chemical activity by Assad, same kind of thing. And President Trump said this was the way that he had to pay that back to show. But there was no strategy at all, and that's what the weakness of all this is. We have no idea where he's going because last week he actually said that he wanted to pull forces out of Syria, and I agree with Senator McCain, who just said, well, maybe that emboldened Assad to take this other action and use chemical weapons again.
So what should the United States do? Like a significant military response?
I think there needs to be a full look at what the issues are in terms of the humanitarian aspect to try to make sure that, in fact, there can be people that go to help those that have been hit, that feed the people. And I know that there's a Security Council meeting actually taking place this afternoon, in which Ambassador Haley has made very clear that this is blood on Putin's hands and others, and that there's going to be significant, well, as she put it, they're going to have to pay for it and try to figure it out. And so the main issue here, Stephen, is that there is no strategy, and we don't know. And then there is a new national security advisor, John Bolton, who has been very, very hawkish about what should be done in terms of using force, and it has to be part of some overall plan.
You have a new book. It's called Fascism, A Warning. What are you warning us about? Are you warning us about President Trump?
I am just generally warning about what is going on, of democracies being under siege in many places. We have just seen elections yesterday in Hungary, where an authoritarian leader was elected. And I write about what's been going on generally in Turkey and in the Philippines, in Poland, Hungary, Venezuela, about the trends that are taking place where fear is the main factor, where various groups are set against each other, where the leader identifies himself only with one group and doesn't care about the individual rights of the others. and is willing to use anything to stay in power. So,
what brings about the rise of fascist regimes? If they're happening all over the place, what's the commonality? What's the fuel?
well, the commonality is that there really are a variety of economic problems and questions as to whether they have their jobs and how people feel, and a division in the public. And it is a problem. There's no question about it.
So when people feel economically insecure, they turn to a strongman?
They try to figure out what to do because democracy is a little slow in dealing with it. And so then a strongman is there and says, I've got all the answers for you.
But don't we look for that in our leaders anyway? I mean, isn't there a fine line between strength and fascist tendencies?
Well, very much so. But the problems with fascist tendencies is if the leader thinks that he's above the law, if he actually says that the press is the enemy of the people, when there are a lot of simplistic answers, when there are rallies in which people are kind of pushed to be violent, and when there's basically kind of a sense that the system is against you, that democracy doesn't work, and that courts are not useful, that the judiciary branch is not important.
Well, that sounds like fake news.
Yeah.
But now that we have the warning, as I said, the book is called Fascism Warning. Now that we have the warning, what do we do to prevent it from happening here?
Well, you know, there's this saying, see something, say something. I have added to that, do something.
Like vote?
Yeah. Well, I think the very important part is to have our young people involved, and to go out, and also people to go out and run for office, to make absolutely clear that you can't have a leader that's above the law, and then to actually listen to people that you disagree with in a civil way, and to really recognize what democracy is about, and that democracy is based on an active citizenship that knows what they have to do, that they are informed, have a good education, and listen to other people. I think that's the main part. And I decided that what I would do was to write this book. It took me a long time to get my public voice. I was 55 by the time that I really had a big job. Once I found my voice, I'm not going to shut up.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The book is Fascism, A Warning. It's in stores now. Madeleine Albright, everybody. We'll be right back. And I'll be cooking with Giada.